evening. It's Britain's busiest railway station, used by 650,000 commuters from the south every day. But tonight they're being warned of major disruption at Waterloo while improvements are carried out. £800 million is being spent upgrading the station, as our transport correspondent Mike Pearce explains.
9 years after the Eurostar terminal closed, work to transform it for South West Trains passengers is at last underway. It's part of an £800 million upgrade and will see 5 new platforms brought into service. The benefits will be a massive increase in capacity. Passengers on crowded trains say is badly needed.
Yeah, well, it's very important, however. It will probably create more traffic in the morning for commuters going in.
Sometimes there's trains that you can't get on.
I don't think this is very crowded, to be honest. This is nothing. I think it's the time of the morning. Earlier, about half an hour earlier, it'd be 10 times worse.
Well, this terminal cost £120 million to build and was used by Eurostar for just 13 years. Incredibly, it's been deserted for most of the last 9 years, and that's because the government couldn't decide what it wanted to do with it. This has been empty for 9 years. It's a bit late.
Well, it's coming late. However, I would say it's better to have the project now and to look into the future. And in July 2017, we will be able to operate this platform. But I do agree it took a long time to get the planning and the agreement with the parties involved to get to that level.
Work on the terminal should be complete to allow the platforms to open next summer. Then existing ones will close with work taking place so longer trains can use them. But be warned, it will mean 9 platforms close at the station for 3 weeks next August, causing major timetable changes.
But let's not forget, it's not just Waterloo, it's major platforms along the Wessex route. We're going to get longer platforms, more passengers coming in, and a more efficient railway for the 21st century. So good news all round. We just ask people to bear with us and we'll get on with the job.
The full benefit should be complete late in 2018. Mike Pearce, ITV News, Waterloo.
Meanwhile, commuters on Southern Rail and Thameslink face even more disruption over the coming weeks as ticket staff are now being balloted for strike action. The RMT union claims Govia Thameslink wants to close ticket offices, cutting 130 jobs. The company insists the changes would improve services for customers.
There's about 85 stations involved, right the way down to Bognor Regis. And what they're trying to do is reduce the times that the station's open. So they're just going to be open now in the early peak, not the late peak, and of course not late at night when women and vulnerable people need people on the stations.
And there's more on that interview on our website. Just go to itv.com/Meridian. In other news tonight, more than 40 firefighters have been tackling a blaze at a car garage on the Isle of Wight. Thick black smoke could be seen billowing from the garage on Castle Road in Wroxall. It broke out around 2 o'clock this afternoon. Some local homes and a primary school were evacuated. Meanwhile, a second planned strike by workers at Fawley oil refinery near Southampton has been called off. Members of Unite were due to walk out for 24 hours from midnight. The dispute centred around some foreign workers being paid less than staff from the UK. The union said after talks, the affected workers will now receive backdated pay. Now, the option to expand Gatwick Airport has come a resounding second to Heathrow in a poll of more than 100 MPs. Just 14% believe a second runway at the Sussex site will be better for the economy than a third runway at Heathrow. But Gatwick maintains it's still the only project that can be delivered. Now, there's anger in Brighton at reports a quarter of new homes in the Marina development have been sold to second homeowners and overseas buyers. Brighton has the third highest level of homelessness in the country, and campaigners say the development is doing nothing to solve the city's housing crisis. Andy Dickinson has a story.
This model shows the scale of a £250 million development that's reaching for the skies. Its first phase almost completed, the first residents began moving in this weekend. Around a quarter of the units sold to overseas buyers and second homeowners.
It's a tragedy that in an area where there's a massive shortage of housing for local people, that a precious resource is going to people from outside the area and is at prices that people can't afford, and it's symptomatic of a housing market that is failing people.
It's a sentiment that carries some sympathy even with the Marina's developers, who add, however, that they're meeting demand and creating employment.
It is a real struggle, it's a real challenge for the city, and I don't think it's just unique to us in Brighton and Hove. I think it's of national concern. I think we have to look at what sort of society we want in. I think it's very difficult as a developer to say to someone who comes to buy a flat from you, what are you going to use it for? You know, are you going to be living in there?
Yet as these luxurious towers go up, the number of homeless at street level only escalates. Brighton now has the third highest number of street sleepers in the country. The average home in Brighton costs around £300,000, while one of these flats will set you back at least £420,000. Now, the average UK salary is £27,000 a year, which means a flat on this development will cost at least 15 times the average wage.
I would like the government to be able to give local authorities much more power to be able to set rent controls, for example. I would like national government to direct any developers that they have to market their properties at home before they go abroad, because many of those homes will be second homes.
Perhaps one argument where everyone seems to be speaking from the same page, but certainly a lot more needs to be done on paper if the situation is ever going to change. Andy Dickinson, ITV News, Brighton.
Now, the Brexit vote may have affected parts of the economy, but tourism here in the south is booming. Latest reports from 500 local companies show a rise in bookings and investment since the referendum.
With the decrease in the value of the pound against overseas currency, more people are deciding to stay at home and undertake domestic holidays. And also we're now a better prospect for overseas visitors in terms of the value for money that they can now get coming to the UK.
And finally tonight, the stars of the Hollywood movie Dunkirk have been the talk of the town in Weymouth today. Harry Styles from One Direction and Tom Hardy were at the seaside resort filming the new blockbuster. Richard Lawrence was also there.
It's taken weeks of preparations, and here comes the cast, or at least the extras. 10 minutes of this Warner Brothers blockbuster is being shot here over the next 3 days, and that means hanging around for hours for the crews and those hoping to catch even just a glimpse of their favourite stars.
Who are you hoping to see?
Tom Hardy.
Harry Styles.
No,
Tom
Hardy.
Definitely.
Hardy, yeah.
On my own there.
Well, I've seen Christopher Nolan, and it's basically been like a history lesson, seeing him and seeing all the extras and the cast and stuff like that.
Some were trying that little bit harder than others to get a snap. This man thinks he may have caught a rear view at least of Harry Styles. And this is Harry Styles, a singer with One Direction, caught on camera during filming in Swanage earlier this week. Right in the middle of the harbour here, the scene being shot today involved an embarkation. Any passing boats were told by the Harbour Authority not to take any pictures, and patrol boats too were deployed.
It is a curious thing. It is a very public event, yet it's shrouded in secrecy. And that's for a couple of reasons, really. One is, of course, they don't want people like us to spoil the back of these wartime scenes, but also they don't want to give away the entire plot. But the clue is in the title, Dunkirk.
Filming in the height of the summer holidays has brought in more people, and the film company has employed a traffic management firm to ease congestion around its locations after problems yesterday. The mayor says the crews have felt very welcome.
It's got to be a win-win situation for the town, puts us on the map, economically it's good, gets visitors in, and it gives the town a buzz.
A nighttime scene of a hero's welcome will be shot tomorrow, a fitting end to their stay here in Dorset. Richard Lawrence, ITV News.
Now, what's happening on the weather front? I think it's all changed tomorrow. Let's find out. Here's Amanda Houston.
From cold fronts to camping, driving through Europe, Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Hello and a very good evening to you. Well, as we go through the rest of tonight, it's a quiet picture out there. We've got some clear skies holding on. So for many of us, not a bad start to the day tomorrow. Now, there will be some sunshine around to begin with, especially the further east that you are, but eventually it will cloud over and we are expecting some rainfall to track its way across the region. Could be some heavy, quite persistent downpours in places, and then once that moves out of the way, we'll see a mixture of sunshine and showers. Could be the risk of some thunder in places too. Temperature values looking at highs of 22 degrees at 72 in Fahrenheit. Then it's sunshine and showers on Friday. Bye-bye.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
So wet, but at least it's still warm. And that is all from us for tonight. We are back during Good Morning Britain from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. But from me and from all of us here on the late team tonight, good night.